Welcome to the Coast Podcast. I'm Emilie, a virtual assistant agency owner who left Amazon in 2019 to build my dream.
And I'm Whitney, a freelance writer and communications consultant who never felt at home in a cube farm.
We didn't see many people paving their own ways like we decided to, so we created this podcast to talk to others who were brave enough to pick a different path. Creatives, entrepreneurs, people doing their careers and their lives their way.
Join us as we learn from them, get inspired, and show you beautiful paths less traveled.
Not every road leads to the coast, but the ones that do come with a great view. Welcome to the Coast Podcast. I'm Emilie Given, a virtual assistant agency owner living in Linwood, Washington.
And I am Whitney Popa. I own a communications consultancy literally right down the road from Emilie, which I discovered last night after I dropped her off after a networking event that we attended together. And I tend to usually get very stressed out about finding my way home from new places, but it was a straight shot. And for that, I am very grateful.
Isn't it weird that we've never been to each other's houses before yesterday? So
Yes.
weird.
Yes.
This podcast, if you haven't listened before, this is about the journey of entrepreneurship. And we both left our corporate roles, different scenarios, obviously, but we didn't see a lot of people or hadn't heard a lot of stories about women leaving corporate and doing things their own way. And we wanted to create this podcast where we interview people who inspire us and learn about their journey and, take little tidbits from their wisdom and share it with you all. So we're here. Here we are.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, for our personal journeys, I can't speak for you, but I always had that nagging feeling of like, this isn't right for me. And then as I was chatting with people last night, I used the term like, I finally got kicked in the uterus to actually go out and do it. And I think both of us have like a version of that story where it wasn't for our kids or necessarily because of our kids, but they were a big motivator
Right.
to go out and do something different and like figure it out. And I know at least for me, my first and only goal when I started my company was if I can make half my salary doing this as I was in my corporate job, which I would have had to give half my salary to the babysitter slash nanny daycare anyway, then this will be something that was worth doing because I'm able to be with my child more and do work that I love kind of outside from under someone else's thumb. So I know about your story, but yours is a little bit more intense than mine as far as getting kicked in the uterus. Are you comfortable getting into that?
Yeah. My uterus and I are not friends. So, I mean, we'll dive into that story in a minute. But she tried to kill me, basically. We're enemies. But I had a traumatic childbirth story. It's quite awful. We can talk a little bit about it here, and our audience can read about it on Scary Mommy. If you Google Emilie Given Scary Mommy, you can hear my whole birth story. But yeah, I had a baby, and it didn't go very well, and I spent a week away from him at different hospitals. Me being in Everett at the birth center, and him being at Seattle Children's in the NICU. I almost died
I didn't
twice.
realize that he was so far.
Yeah. So Billy drove back and forth for a week.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had an infection in my uterus, which is like not unheard of because That's why when your water breaks, they say you have to deliver within 24 hours or whatever. But my water hadn't broken, so there should have been like no way for infection to get in that sterile space, right? But somehow it did. And
Mhm.
that's the part that's like medical anomaly. The doctors are like, we don't know how this happened. So I got infection in my uterus. We didn't know that, obviously. But then when they did the emergency C section, because he tanked, and I actually almost tanked at the same time. So my pulse was like 200 something, and his pulse was like dropping, and it wasn't there. So emergency C section. Um, I was like all alone, which sucked, and like awake. And then like I felt them cutting the baby out, and like didn't hear him cry. And so he didn't breathe for 6 minutes. He was intubated, which I actually found out is why his voice is raspy now, because they scarred his vocal cords. His voice
Oh,
is so
wow.
so cute. If you hear him speak, like it's so cute. But knowing that kind of makes me feel a certain way. That's okay.
Yeah.
But C-section happened. I almost bled out because at that point the infection um, was so bad that my uterus, like apparently when they do a C-section, it's supposed to like contract back down to normal um, after you have a baby, and my uterus just like flopped open and just like I just bled out. I was bleeding out on the table, and so I had to get like two emergency blood transfusions. But I like vividly remember almost dying and like floating up out of my body and looking down at myself and saying like, "Oh, I'm dying. My baby's dead.
Oh
This
my God.
sucks." Like it was crazy. It was definitely an out of body experience, which I think
But
our
you like
body.
weren't emotional about it. Like it was just
No, it
like,
was a fact. Yep,
yeah.
I'm leaving. My baby is dead. I'm leaving Billy alone. Like that's what I thought. And I think our bodies do that. Now that I like look back at it, I think our bodies do that to protect ourselves. Like, or spirit does that so that we're not feeling that intensity right there. Like, obviously you feel it, but then when it's like too great to bear, like you do float up out of your body for sure. And like I realized like going back in my life, I've had different experiences where that happened, like in cases of like abuse and cases of
Mhm.
and things like that. And it's just really wild to think about. Anyway,
Dissociation. My therapist just talked to me about that last week because I told her about like I read something small that I couldn't find anymore about like there's another one beyond like freeze flight um and uh something else. What is it? Fight, flight, freeze, and there's something else.
mm,
And anyway, I was like, "Oh, I think I read this thing, I can't find it anymore." And it's what I would do when my dad was sick. I would like whenever we were there when he was on hospice, and I would it doesn't matter how much coffee I had or whatever, I would walk into the room and I would immediately feel like I wanted to fall asleep
mm-hmm,
and like kind of see everything from above as like a person. Like I would just crawl um into just a little ball and feel like, oh my gosh, I've like never been more tired. And she said that's dissociation,
mm-hmm.
which is a like a trauma response.
Like a mechanism to protect yourself. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I felt that, and then after the infection caused me to develop sepsis, where the infection was like in my bloodstream, and then my kidneys and liver failed, and then my lungs failed. So I had something
What does
called
that mean when they fail?
so
Like
like
you're obviously alive now.
yeah, but they like totally just stopped working. So um,
Shut down.
they totally shut down. And then the lungs, I had ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is what COVID patients ultimately die from. So their like lungs just stop working and get too filled up with fluid or whatever and stop working. So that's what happened to me. And when the lungs failed, the kidney and liver and lungs, I think they all went out at the same time. Like just everything shut down. And I was like sleeping, and then all of a sudden I woke up and like there's alarms going off, and a doctor was literally on top of me, And she put in it's called a femcath, a femoral catheter into my femoral artery, like goes straight from your groin up. They did emergency dialysis, so they basically like took all the blood out of my body and like cleaned it and put it back in.
Oh my God.
So that saved my life. And then, like, they told Billy that I wasn't going to make it. They called him and said, you need to come say goodbye. And they told all my family it was time to say goodbye. Like, I wasn't going to make it.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was insane.
I mean, it's one thing to read it and a
Yeah.
whole other thing to like hear it.
hmm Yeah, it was. I don't really remember the feelings around that. I was like so confused. I'm like, I feel okay, but they said that I'm going to die. So, and then I was so out of it. I was like on all these meds and I asked I called his best friends into the room and asked them to help take care of the baby. Yeah, and like the chaplain came and like prayed over me and stuff. And I was like, chaplain only comes when you're dying, and I was like, oh no, like, but somehow I made it, and I like it's literally I always say like a cross between a miracle and like modern medicine because I don't negate modern medicine at all. Like, thank God for medicine, right? Like, I wouldn't have made it
Mhm.
if those medical interventions hadn't happened. And I'm so thankful that they did. So, yeah, I made it.
Yeah.
And, it was a slow recovery, lots of meds going forward. I remember, like, apparently your kidneys control, like, you peeing, right? So when my kidneys
Hmm.
weren't working, literally peeing out, like, sludge, like yellow,
Oh my God.
dark dark brown sludge. It was disgusting because your kidneys like filter everything out, like the bad stuff. It was so
Yeah.
gross. And then like they pumped me so full of fluid. I don't remember what the purpose of that was, but so full of fluid. I went in to deliver a baby at 160. They pumped me so full of fluid. I was 190. Overnight, I peed out
Oh,
15 pounds of fluid,
oh my
literally
God.
15 pounds. And then the next week, I was back to 120, which is my pre pregnancy weight. So I don't have any pregnancy stretch marks, but I have a hella stretch marks from having.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So like 190 to 120 in a week.
Oh my God.
It was crazy.
Dang. And that whole time you were at Amazon. So they were like, we're chill about all of this slash take the time you need, or what was that?
So at Amazon, thankfully, you actually get prepartum leave for a month. Was it a month? I think a whole month before you have the baby.
Yeah.
So it's like paid leave.
Except like who can predict that? But yes. Yeah.
So like a month before your due date is when you can
Hmm.
take prepartum. And so I took prepartum leave. I was on leave, and then my like coworkers were like, "What the hell's happening? This is nuts." But anyway, this is a long, convoluted way to say like I almost died in childbirth, and once I was reunited with my baby, which was 7 days after the fact, I got to meet him. I had never even seen him in person. Like, I didn't see them hold him up after the C-section. I didn't see him intubated. I didn't see him. We FaceTimed. That's how the first time I saw my baby was over FaceTime. And then once we were reunited, like, obviously my world changed. Like, one, I had a baby, but two, I'd almost just died twice. And like, life is short. Life is so short. Like, I literally remember having this like thought in my head when I was in labor, like, you got this, you're gonna be fine. Nobody dies in childbirth. That doesn't happen anymore. And then this happened, and I was like, okay, well, life is really short. And like, the world changed. Like, I heard
Hmm.
birds chirping and I smelled fresh air. Like, I really smelled it. And I was like, colors are brighter and things just,
Hmm.
it's totally a different experience. And I will say, like, it's not like that all the time now, right? It's been 5 years, but at first it was so like in my face. And Amazon is so wonderful that I have like took a full 6 months off, which was just great. But then when he was like 6 months to a year old, I would be leaving the house at 6:15 a.m. To commute to work because morning traffic is literally the worst from Linwood. I mean, imagine Everett, that'd be even more terrible. But Linwood to South Lake Union, um, it sucked. It was like an hour and a half to 2 hours there and an hour and a half, 2 hours back in rush hour traffic. It just sucked. So I'd leave at like 6:15 and get back at 6:30, not 7,
What were
6:30.
you doing for childcare?
My sister was actually my nanny. So
Oh, that's good.
what was she doing? Was she not working? She must have not been working or doing like some jobs that she could still. I don't even remember. But she was nannying for me. So it was awesome. She lived close. She lives in Auburn now, which sucks. I miss her a lot. She's the one that's actually engaged to Kayla, who edits our podcast. They're getting married next month.
Oh,
But
oh,
JD,
nice.
yeah, my sister JD nannied for EJ until he was like 1. And then we hired a nanny to be on site. And then he went to daycare when he was 2. But um, yeah, I was seeing him like an hour and a half a day before he went to sleep. And I
Hmm.
was like, this sucks. I'm not about this. So started freelancing. Also, we had a lot of medical bills at that point, and like freelancing. Billy was driving for Amazon, and so I picked up like one freelance client on Upwork, and then I picked up another one because I liked the extra cash, and then picked up another one, and then soon I was like, huh, maybe I could just do this full time, like not have to commute anymore, kind of do the same thing as an EA does, but work for myself. I knew it was a thing. And so I did it for like a year. I did both, like work at Amazon and then like on in the evenings I'd freelance. And so moonlighting is that what it's called? Moonlighting. Um,
Yeah. And that's also when like Upwork was decent.
yeah, yeah.
Like Fiverr and Upwork suck now,
Hmm.
in my experience.
It's like they want the lowest paying person or the lowest charging person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And at
yeah.
least on Fiverr too, they don't give you as like the seller the opportunity to say no. Like they encourage people to message you before they buy your gigs, but like they you could have it set up where like I did, where they could expedite, like they pay $50 extra to have it done in 24 hours. But most people, I don't know if this was the case on Upwork. When I was on Upwork, I more proactively applied for things, but on Fiverr, when they're buying your gigs, they can just buy your gig and then the timer starts.
Oh,
And
there.
then basically you're fucked. Like
That's
because they um and smart buyers who are manipulative, they know that too. So the timer starts, you're not able to like deliver on time because it comes in the middle of the night or on the weekend or whatever, they have any feedback, and then they can like easily get their money back that they paid you and get free work because you delivered, but maybe it's not your best work, or and then you're resentful. Anyway, I have all this beef with these
that is so
freelancing sites. So for yeah, so for anybody listening, like I've tried a bunch of them, and there's a lot of different routes that I would go before doing that, but back when we were starting, that's also like I my first client was from Craigslist. I mean, those are
Ooh,
very valuable
yeah.
routes to go. I still have that client. But it doesn't I would recommend starting with friends and family. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but those I also like those for dipping your toe in and seeing what like,
What's out there?
you can monetize, yeah, and what people are wanting. So, I guess I would just caution people to be very careful
Yeah,
on
agreed.
especially Fiverr. Upwork's a little different. I just don't like how Upwork changed. So I quit Upwork when they were trying to make me pay to be on
Yeah,
it.
you still have to
Yeah.
pay. Like you have to buy
Yeah.
credits to apply to things or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
And then it's the marketplace is so inundated that like who even knows that they're gonna look at your proposal anyway. Dumb.
Yeah.
Started on Upwork, gained some clients, and then I went to Billy and I was like, I don't want to quit Amazon. He's like, you're insane. I'm like, no, really. I have. look, I have clients. Like, I found clients and they're paying me. And, he's like, okay, well, show me you can do it. I was like, okay. And so I built up my clientele to where I was making the same amount of money as I was making at Amazon. And I was like, okay, I did it. So he's like, okay,
Wow.
let's pick a quit date. And
And on
then,
Upwork though, are you were you setting your own rates?
no,
Or, and I know that they, just excuse my very obvious beef with these sites currently because I quit Fiverr like 2 months ago after like a battle with a stupid buyer, and I will never be on another one of those sites again. But I know they also take a cut.
yeah. So what you have to do is like
So,
up rates 20% or whatever.
yeah,
I also did my own like reaching out on, um, and I circumvented Upwork pretty quickly. I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. We can do 1 week on Upwork and then we're moving off the platform, even though that's completely
right.
against me. Sorry.
Totally.
Um, so it was just better that way. Um, Definitely met a couple clients that way, but also met some clients like on social media outreach. And I posted I guess I didn't then. How did I? Yeah, social media outreach pretty much in Upwork. So I was
Hmm.
like, let's do this. So we picked a quit date. And at that time, like, I had leveled up as much as I wanted to at Amazon without changing job roles. So, and then,
Hmm.
I had spent my stock already buying a house, which is great.
Amazing. I was
And
gonna ask about that.
yeah, so the stock is like so amazing. It was so amazing for me at Amazon. Like, I got in at a really good point when stocks was like $300 a share, and then it went like zoom, like it took off. And so I made some great money, and we were able to do so many things because of Amazon. Like, bought a house, paid off debt, like, um, had a baby, and was comfortable, right? And
Hmm.
just, I'm so thankful to it. Everyone, like, when they hear I worked at Amazon, they're like, ooh, how was your experience? I'm like, it was awesome. I loved it. And I still talk to tons of people there. And like my old director that I support that just got promoted to VP, woohoo, yeah, Tony Chore. He's like my biggest fan. He just always checks in like, hey, I'm so proud of you. Like, everyone is so proud of you. And I was so scared to leave like my VP, Sean. Um, I was so scared to have him meet. I was like, listen, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to leave. He's like, you are going to be successful in whatever you do. I'm so excited for you, but if you ever need a place, like, you can always call me. Like, the door's open. So it was just so amazing. Like, one of Amazon's leadership principles is hire and develop the best. And I found that to really be true there. Like, they really want the best for you. They want you to do what's best for you. And luckily, I had
Hmm.
managers who are always so embodied that principle. So that made it really great.
Yeah. It always, I mean, there's a couple bad pieces about them out there, but they're such a huge employer here, and it really depends on your team and the people
Totally,
that you're around. I mean,
totally depends on your
it,
org and leadership. And I was so
mhm,
fortunate to be under really great leaders when I was there that I still talk to and are still
yeah.
friends with today. And um, yeah, it was great. But leaving was scary, of course. But we have the security net of my husband's job um, and benefits. I miss Amazon benefits so much. Like,
Hmm.
paid massages, and it was just really great. But
Oh, I need to get Roz getting some free massages 'cause he's
yeah,
not
yeah,
doing
it's
that.
like $8 copay or something, and you can get like at least 12 a year for sure. So check into it. It's awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I left and I figured it out. I didn't have a degree in business. I actually don't have a degree at all, which is crazy. I am 20 credits
It's
over.
not though.
Yeah,
That's another like conditioning thing, I think, that like
it's like
one of my
society.
former bosses, yeah, she is now like pretty high up on the social team at REI. She was my boss at Nordstrom, and she didn't have a degree, and she was always really, she had a AA, she was always like worried about that.
Mhm.
And that real life experience like translates so much further, I think, like depending on I would never take back my college experience because I loved it and it was amazing and I still think about it like 100 times a day, but I don't think you need that in order to be successful at all. I think like if you look at the guy on TikTok asking everybody's zillion-dollar cars what they do for a living, it's like generational wealth or they started their own company.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. It's part of me. So I didn't even apply to 4-year schools after college, after high school, and I graduated with like a 3.8 GPA. I was in all the extracurriculars. I was in all the AP classes, all the honors. Like I did so many things, but I knew that like I didn't have money to pay for that kind of college, and so I didn't even apply. And now I'm kind of curious, like, where would I have gotten in?
Yeah.
But
You need my grandma who gets everybody like 1,000 scholarships. That
yeah,
was her job.
so I went to trade school. I was a medical assistant and got certified. It was my mom's idea because she had been laid off. Um, and she's like, I'm going to go to this Pima Medical Institute and do front office medical. And so she's like, why don't you come with me and do back office? And so we went to school together, which was super fun,
Oh,
actually. That
cute.
was such a fun experience, like being in class with my mom. Um, and then I worked as an MA for 7 years, 6 years, and then I went into administration for 1 year. I was an OBGYN for the majority of um, my MA world, and which is so ironic because I gave birth where I worked, and so
Oh,
like
fun.
when all that went down, like everyone just like came down and like knew me and visited. It was fun. It was good. It was
Yeah.
not actually work good, but the people were great.
You had support.
Yes, lots of support, and I still there. Those people are still my family to this day. Like I absolutely adore every one of them. But yeah, did that for 6 years. Went into administration. Was a clinical supervisor at a GI clinic. Um, People called it Buttland. And I hated it. I had the greatest boss ever. Like so supportive. She was a great mentor. Amazing. But I just hated the role. Hated it. I had 23 direct reports, and I was like 20,
Wow.
22 or 23 years old. I was very young.
Dang.
It
Yeah.
was a lot. And then I had to be that person that's like, you looked at your phone, or like, you're not allowed to wear that. And it was just so like I was the micromanager, and I just hated that. And then
Mhm.
yeah, I just and once I was like removed from the patient aspect of healthcare, like healthcare was all about money, and I was like, ew, I hate this. It feels gross.
Mhm.
And so then I was like, what could I do? And I on a whim applied for Amazon. I was like, I could probably do that. And then my manager Stephanie had come from healthcare, and she like saw that my resume was just like hers, and she knew that it correlated for her, and she was willing to train me, and like that she hired me at Amazon. And so that was really yeah how I got into Amazon. um yeah, so once I left, it was anyway, I was like, I don't have a degree. That's why I went into this tangent. I still yeah.
But that's actually pretty magical because most people don't get into Amazon just by applying that
Right.
simply. Like it's really not that simple for
Yeah,
most
no
people.
somebody or yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel very fortunate to have that happen, and I believe that was all aligned for this path. Like
Yeah.
it
Like
wasn't
giving me goosebumps.
yeah, it was pretty great. And then the whole time though, between MA school graduating and uh, when EJ was less than a year old, I was in school on and off. Like I'd take a class here and I'd do a quarter here. Like so I was like I'm chipping away. I was chipping away at it. And then I kind of realized like once I got a job at Amazon, I was like, well, I'm already in here.
Mhm.
And that on my resume is like, if I want to go anywhere else, that's great.
Yep.
Um, but I'm 20 credits away. I think I just looked this up. 20 credits away from my bachelor's. Um, in the right places. Like I have enough credits now to have a degree. Like what is it, 90 credits, or I definitely, or 180 credits. I have enough credits, but they're not in the right places to get the degrees or whatever.
Mm.
So I'm 20 credits away from a specific degree in social sciences. Part of me is like, wants to stick it to the man and be like, well, I don't need it. I'm successful without it. But my friend Amber said something to me. She was like, well, I get that, but like, also, shouldn't you teach your kids that you finish what you start, no matter how long it takes? And I was like, yeah, I kind of like that too. And my husband's a prime example of this. So my husband is 12 years older than I am. He's 43. He left college his junior year to take a job, and when he was 21, and now he's graduating with his bachelor's in December of this year.
Oh, look at him.
I
So
know.
I actually, Glennon's latest, one of her latest episodes of her podcast was talking about like the benefits of quitting
Yeah.
and how
Yeah,
good it is, yeah, for you and how we glorify like finishing what you start. And I just read a book last year called Grit about like really committing to things. And I don't know, I think it depends. Like if it's something that it matters to you to be able to say like I worked hard and I did this and like look at this piece of paper that the rest of the world wants for me to wave in
mm,
their face, then here you go. Um, but I'm kind of, as
yeah.
a person who is a recovering perfectionist who has gotten two B's in my entire life,
Mm,
who is the front of every class. I am like, and taught the SAT when I like moved out here and um, was an unpaid intern at Seattle Magazine and worked 6 days a week and rode the bus 2 hours back and forth from Seattle to Kirkland and taught these kids how to beat this test that they don't even learn in school and watch them like hate themselves for not being smart at a test that they never learned. Um, I am almost anti-traditional education at this point, and I
right.
think you could be wild. I think we're so trained to be mediocre through the traditional education system to be these little cogs at these big corporations that like the people who dared to not graduate, like, hello, look at all the tech guys.
Hmm.
They don't have degrees because they're like, I need to be out in the world actually doing the thing versus having burnouts. Not that all professors are, I mean, they're brilliant, but like having these people not doing the thing teach me to do the thing that I'm going to go do anyway, but also who could steer me away and start thinking in a way that just makes them money versus going out and doing something special and making myself money. So I'm kind of like swinging my personal pendulum from
No.
somebody who's like going to get a master's at some point. Like, what should I get my master's in? And Roz and I are both like, he did the same thing where he was getting so much, he was going to get an MBA, and we were like loosely talking about like right before we got married, where is he going to go get his MBA, and let's have a little last adventure before we have kids. And then he's like, what do I need an MBA for?
Hmm.
Like, I'm already making the same amount of money. I'm getting this on the ground experience. Maybe eventually I could translate that into an executive MBA, but like the same rules don't apply in the world now that they did when we set up our education system. And so, to your friend Amber's point, I hear that, but also like I would consider your motivations for feeling like you want or need it and then go from there.
And I think the beauty about today compared to back when we were getting our degrees is that you can learn anything you want to learn
Right.
online right
Yeah.
now.
It's a
Literally,
huge
and
difference.
you can pay for a course
Hmm.
and take it on your own time. And I think it's so much more valuable than going, like right now, if I were to go back in school, it'd be an online course, like what Bill is doing.
Yep.
And he literally responds to 20-year-old kids like who say, I agree with you in their discussion posts. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
um, like the real world experience in the discussion forums is not there, right? They don't know,
No.
they don't have any life experience, and it's so you can learn so much from online learning, and that's what I did. That's what made me so successful when I left. I learned everything I could. I read everything I could. I followed people who were in my footsteps. I messaged them and said, I admire you. Can I, you know,
Yeah.
I'd like to learn all I can from you. I followed their posts. I like learned, downloaded all the free things like the templates. Like this is what you could do. Like, and
Hmm.
I'm curious and I learned and I'm resourceful, and that's I think what
Yep.
learning doesn't have to be in this college box, right? Learning is
Yeah.
lifelong, and learning can be so many different things. So all that to say, I'm not uneducated. I'm exceptionally educated, just non-traditional methods,
Hmm.
also in
And I
traditional.
think that's like the way to go now. Like, especially if you're chasing after something you're supremely interested in, you're a highly curious, motivated person. A lot of kids need college to have structure and learn how to study and learn how to be out on their own and all those things. I even remember when I was applying to college, my mom wanted me to apply to all these fancy places that I didn't want to go to because I had the grades to support it, because she wanted me to have those networks. A lot of it is for the who you know after college. And she was telling, that's why I was in the sorority. And that's the single best part about my experience, was being in all these environments with people who I still am like best friends with today. Like, do I use my degree? Not really. I use the training at the SAT place more than I use my degree in what I do now. So I don't
And
know. I'm like more rah-rah about you not having a degree than having a degree that you wasted your time at, not wasted,
yeah,
but
well, okay, let's talk about wasting time now. How much does a typical four-year university degree cost right now? 80 grand,
oh,
probably.
I have no idea so
No,
much.
no, like, and
I
what
went
if you?
in state at Idaho.
Oh yeah, but like, what if you pick a like, what if you're so passionate about something when you're 18 years old, graduating from
Yeah.
high school, and then you spend 80 grand on this thing?
Hmm.
That it's crazy to ask
Or more than twice
18
that
year olds.
when it's private. Yes.
Wait, it's crazy to ask 18-year-olds, hey, what do you want to do for the rest of your life?
Yep.
Like, I think that's such a wild societal structure that we have going on. Like,
Hmm.
oh, if I was doing what I wanted to do when I was 18, what would I be doing? I would be a news anchor woman.
Oh, you could do that though.
Thanks.
And I would
Well,
be doing the same thing. I mean, I majored in what I do,
oh,
but
that's
I
cool.
started off with thinking that I was going to be an orthodontist because my grandfather was a dentist and I liked science, but I always liked English more. My family was very much like um, somewhat vocational, still in that mindset of like, you got to go out and get something that like people understand: doctor, lawyer, teacher, nurse.
Yeah.
So when you put in your notice and then you started being full time on your business, like what did that first day feel like?
Oh, that first day was so good. I got asked this on a podcast interview recently, and like I got emotional. I remember the first day because I woke up really early, was super excited. I was like doing emails, reaching out to people, working on some client work. And then when EJ woke up at like 8 o'clock, I got back in bed with him and I snuggled him. And it was like the most glorious moment ever. Like, that is what I did it for. And this is like, I used to miss morning snuggles. And now, like, I have an abundance of morning snuggles. And that's why I did it, to spend more time with the baby.
Yeah.
Even though I do send him to daycare because I could not get anything done with him home. Um,
Hmm.
the first few months of the pandemic was rough, but yeah, I get that back. Like, I get the morning snuggles
And
back, and we're not rushed in the morning. And like, if he's sick, I can stay home with him, and that is what I did it for. I can cook dinner every
hmm.
night and have it ready at 5:30. Like, I can take my Hank to hockey practice if I have to. I can sit there and watch his hockey practice if I want to. Um, I don't have to ask for time off when I have to take doctor's appointments. I can go get acupuncture at 1:30 on Wednesdays every week. Like,
Hmm.
it's the freedom is amazing. And working at Amazon, it was the first job I ever had that treated you like an adult. Like, trusted you to do your job. You didn't have to be there at a specific time. You didn't have to um, like clock out for lunch or take your 15-minute break, um, it just really set me up for like being accountable to myself and myself
Mhm.
alone and like really setting up good habits like, okay, this is your task list for the day, this is what you have to do. Because if I had come from my previous job, I would be like, oh, well, I have to clock out. And then, like, I'm waiting for someone to tell me what to do, right? Amazon just gave me the autonomy. And it was really great to just be able to translate into, like, okay, well, I know what I have to do. I have to set up my calendar, like time blocks throughout the day, and schedule these meetings and have these meetings with people. It also gave me the idea of what, like, a business structure should look like, right? Like a
Mhm.
corporation or like there's these different teams that work on these different things and they all meet together once a week and like talk about how it all works together and then they have their vision planning and then roadmap reviews and things like that. So it gave me a bigger insight into like a business because each org in Amazon is run like a different business.
Yeah.
And so, and then it all obviously rolls up to being a whole company and different, but each, like, even the little tiny like, detail page, it's a whole business. Like, it's different parts of it. So, yeah, that was it was very beneficial. And I don't feel like I would have been successful, not at Amazon specifically, but had I not been in a role where I learned how a business works.
And I want to know, so like one of the things that I always think about with my business is like you obviously started
Mhm.
freelancing, then decided to make it an agency model and started hiring people. What did that switch look like for you, like mentally getting there? I mean, it's a completely different business model, but we deciding to quote unquote
I
scale
did it.
and hire
Yeah,
people.
I did it pretty quickly because I realized like, okay, well I'm full, and that happened within a month. Okay, I'm full, but like I am making the same amount as I did at Amazon, and I'm having to turn away people. And why wouldn't I just hire people to work under me? I knew the agency model existed because of the bigger companies that do it, but like I knew a lot of other EAs like wanting to side hustle and wanting to freelance, and so why wouldn't I? I'm getting good at these sales calls, so why wouldn't I do them and then say like, hey, you're going to be paired with this person. She's a great member of my team. I'm there to support as a resource if you need me or jump in if needed. But um, and so and then I realized that I could create or help these other women create the flexibility that I had been craving, and I knew that they were craving too. And so it's kind of like a beautiful full circle thing. Like we have a team of 30 VAs right now, and some are side hustling, but some are doing this full time to stay home with their family and see their family more. Or like they didn't feel comfortable being in a in-person environment due to COVID, or they lost their job due to COVID. And so we're providing these opportunities for them, but also providing like the service to these companies who need it. And it's
Hmm.
been so beautiful to be able to see that come full circle.
So within a month, you
Yeah.
switched.
Yeah, within a month, I
That's
hired
cool.
like one person, and then I hired another. And then once I kind of got the sales process down, like, okay, this is who we're targeting, this is how we're doing it. We hire five at a time, then fill up those five. That's kind of what we do: five at a time, then fill them up, and
Mhm.
then five at a time, and fill them up.
Didn't you say that your goal that you want to max out at least right now, is 50 VAs?
Yeah, because we just want to be able to have a personal touch with everybody. Like, I want to know everybody. I want to know all of our clients. Um, yeah.
So you go from doing the work to becoming an agency. How did you even think about your pricing and how you would basically take on people to do the work and then you oversee it and charge a certain amount for that? Were you in classes? Were you learning from a mentor? What did that look like for you?
Um, Pretty much I just did a lot of competitor research. So I was looking at the other big companies, the other agencies, and seeing what they were charging. And then I thought about like what people want to make in a side hustle type of situation too. Like I knew I wasn't going to pay $10 an hour, obviously, so I couldn't charge $20 an hour to clients. That wasn't enough. So I wanted to make it like they're going to make more side hustling with me or working with me than selling essential oils or Tupperware or what have you.
Are you stoking my excitement about MLMs?
Oh, nah, I'm like totally not anti-MLM. I would personally never do one because that kind of marketing feels yucky to me. Or like some people do it in a way that feels yucky, and I just don't have the energy to do it in a way that doesn't feel gross. But I'm like supportive of my friends who do it. I always say like, listen, I'm not going to be a repeat customer, but I'll buy one of your things and tell you how I like it. I just bought Monet for the first time ever. But just like a product, not like a shampoo or anything, but only to support my friend. Like I'm not.
I just finished Lula Rich, so I'm still in my like I'm in love with Colts, and turns out this is like another manifestation of that.
But I'm also in love with cults. I also adore. Me and my husband love cult documentaries. Love them. But you didn't ever buy into LuLaRoe, did you? Like I owned
No, yeah.
1 million LuLaRoe items. I did not sell it, but like I was all about it because like it was just postpartum. Like the shirts are large and oversized. It was like, yes, give me leggings. Yes, give me giant t-shirts. Like I had so much stuff, and I was in like all the resale Facebook groups and like searching for the certain prints. And then I saw pictures of myself, and I was like, yeah, that's a moo. Like,
Yeah, not sexy. I don't know how I didn't know about it. Honestly, I'm so in that world of loving these things, and I love my Mormons, so I don't know how I didn't know. But now that I've seen it, yesterday I was at a bar 3 class and there was a girl wearing very loud leggings, and I was like, the day after I finished the LuLaRoe documentary, I'm pretty sure that's what you're wearing right now.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, how I decide on pricing, competitor research. I wanted to pay people enough so that they could make a living, not a full, like some people do it full time, sure, but also come up with a profit margin that was like reasonable for us and that we could make money doing it. So because we're the ones putting money into marketing, we're the ones doing the sales calls, managing the entire relationship, yada yada. So yeah, that's how I decided.
Was it like, I'm going to hire one person, or did you hire a few at once? Or how did that look?
My first person was Amber, who now does our HR. So she does all of our phone screens, background checks, organizes all resumes and stuff, and like sends them on to my husband. She does that. But she was my first VA, and like she basically did stuff for me at first. Like, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this, or like, can you jump into this client inbox and handle this and this? I wasn't sure at that point whether I was going to have people help me out with my clients or match one-to-one. And I decided like one-to-one was easier because then they can integrate a full relationship with that client one-on-one, and I didn't have to be like, I could oversee it and step in if needed, which is what I do, but also just manage the relationship from the top level. Like, hey Taylor, how's it going with Heather this week? And I check in once a week, and I check in with Heather once a week and say, hey, how's it going with Taylor? Like, anything I need to address? No? Okay, great. Like, and then I have all my assistants on a Slack channel where if they have a question that comes up, hey, Emily, don't know how to do this. Hey, Emily, do you have a resource for this? And then they all have each other to talk to too. So it's been helpful.
It seems very fancy and a lot to manage.
So, one, everything I do is fancy. I'm just kidding. It's not.
Obviously.
It's not that much to manage, honestly. And that's the thing. Billy and I, so if you are listening to this and you didn't know, my husband and I run this business together, essentially. So he does the sales calls and kind of client onboarding stuff. And then it gets passed to me to manage the client relationship. And I handle all the VAs and stuff. And we kind of tackle marketing together. And he also does the hiring now. I'm not even involved in that. So we have actually talked about how, yes, we want to grow, but right now we have about 30 VAs. Like, I think we don't ever want to get over 50 because then it would be too much to manage, right? So we'll probably expand to 50 and then however many clients that leads us to have. But it's not a lot to manage. I have like I do payroll on Fridays. I check in with my assistants on Fridays. I check in with my clients on Fridays. Like, go down a list. Like,
So you have systems.
yeah, I have systems, and that's what makes it not too complicated. Like, Amber does the phone screen. She passes it on to Billy. Billy does the secondary screen. He sends it back to Amber to send the hiring paperwork. Amber sends the hiring paperwork. A contract gets signed. I create the assistant profile. Assistant profile gets created. They go into a queue. I get everything on onboarding, setting up a Slack and Clockify and their email address. And then once that's done, when Bill has a sales call, he feels it would be a good match. He reaches out to the assistant. We set up the fit-in call. The client signs a contract. Bill sends an onboarding email. Client kickoff happens. Then it's like, once that all happens, I'm checking in once a week. I'm doing payroll once a week. It's like very consistent. And I think that's what makes it manageable. Like, yeah, we have a team of 30 people, but it's totally manageable because I have systems in place. And if I didn't, I would be a hot mess. But it's not that complicated. Like, we have a pool, we hire a pool. We have a pool of great people. If something comes up, we think they'd be a good fit because personality is everything when we're matching. Like, you of all people know that for sure because you have Alyssa, who like is really, it's a good skill set, but it's also a good personality match for you. I'm like, oh, you're gonna love her. So like it's really important to us. And so then they're just there. They know what they have to do. I hire people who are like proactive and know what they're doing and don't need hand holding. And if they have questions, I'm a resource. But other than that, I really empower these people to run their own business. And these are their clients too. Like, they're my clients, but you're your own contractor. And so you are the expert here. You don't have to do it my way.
That's what I was going to ask next. Going back to the hiring before you're ready, basically. So you have people waiting for clients to come through versus hiring to fit the client need once that comes in, which is actually a great manifestation technique as well.
Yep. So it cuts out the urgency too. And something I learned early on was like when I was working with a coach and she was helping me like tap into, abundance and manifestation and things like that. She's like, okay, well, if you get 5 clients now, where are they going to go? I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't have anywhere for them to go. She's like, do the hiring and like show the universe like, hey, this is here waiting. Like, I have somewhere for you to put it. Bring them in. And I found that to be very successful. And also you just have to set the expectation. Like, listen, Whitney, like, we don't have anything for you right now, but just know we have like 3 to 5 sales calls a week and there will be something soon. So, and some people don't want to wait and they're like, it's not going to work for me. And that's fine. We just won't hire them.
Yeah. That's so cool. It's like so expansive, as some of my manifestation coaches say. One thing that I was wondering too is 2 things. Your niche, if you care to have a niche, I know that you do mostly like small startup tech, but if that's something you want to continue to do, or if you would expand in some other area, like if you care to get more like spiritual and market towards women specifically, if you feel like you have enough men. This is kind of the problem that I'm running into with the co-working space, where it's like we're just attracting tech men and I want women of all kinds too. However you identify, if you identify as a woman, I want you. I have enough male energy in my life. And also how you're thinking about competition, but since it seems to be kind of a popular business model right now.
Yeah, so in regards to niche, I can never decide how I say that word. I'm pretty happy with the tech startup. We've kind of unlocked a marketing thing that I won't go too into depth with, but like that's been really successful for us in regards to tech startups. So I feel like that has been great. And also it's easier to hire for me because we hire executive assistants, like people who have documented experience as an executive assistant. So something I talk about all the time on podcast interviews is how the term virtual assistant is not regulated anywhere, and it doesn't mean anything specifically. It means you do work virtually, right? But what kind of work? doesn't matter, right? Like it could be a graphic designer. Some people that do PR call themselves virtual assistants too, right? Like reaching out for interviews and things like that. So like it's so unregulated that for me, niching down to a specific service, we provide executive assistant services to tech startups. So it's easy for me to hire for that too, because I'm not having to screen through like thousands of virtual assistant resumes determining who has the right experience and who doesn't. If to be on my team, you have to have 3 to 5 years of executive assistant experience in the corporate world. That's a requirement to be on my team. So because I know that you have all the skills necessary to do the work that we're doing, calendar, travel, expense reporting, email management. That's like primary what we do. And sometimes we have clients like that want social media support. So we have people who know social media, and or we pay them to get certified in social media, like HubSpot's social media marketing certification. So we'll pay them the time it takes to go get that knowledge, because it, one, helps us, but it two, helps them more marketable in the event that they want to also go get their own clients. So we invest in our people that way. But yeah, niching down was super important for me because, one, if we didn't, it would make hiring a lot harder for me. And two, or just like, I really enjoy that kind of clientele. I will say that not everybody is a startup on my team, obviously, and especially not tech, but some people come to us that are like coaches or small businesses, and we love helping them too. But I find the executive assistant role is very transferable in that way. So that's kind of how I thought about it. And then in regards to competition, yes, it's a popular business model, but I'm not trying to take over the world. And so I'm not like that threatened by, we'll never be big companies like Zirtual or Belay. We won't be that, and we don't want to be that. And so that to me, like, I'm not super threatened by business model. That being said, like, well, also I coach sometimes virtual assistants who want to build agencies. Like I have no problem sharing how I got there and techniques to do so. And what I always tell my clients is, even if you niche down to a specific market, like I am a virtual assistant who only provides bookkeeping. There's still too many bookkeeping clients, right? And even if I provided bookkeeping to florists, there's still too many clients for you. Even if I provided bookkeeping to florists in Linwood, Washington, if you got them all, that's still too many, right? So there's more than enough clientele to go around, even if you niche really hard. So that's kind of like...
Yeah, and I don't think that's a healthy attitude anyway, but I feel like there's a lot of people who don't completely understand, and then it becomes a term that's like all of a sudden that's what they're hearing a lot of. So they're like, oh, what is this and how do I...
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessary to niche down if like you're a virtual assistant who's trying to figure out what you want to do. Dabble in things that you're curious about, learn a lot of things, but really when it comes to niching, niche because it makes you happy. Like do what you enjoy doing, or what makes it like easily replicable for you. That's why I did executive assistant to tech startup, because I knew how to do it. Also, knowing how to jump in and fix something if somebody messes something up. So that's why I promote executive assistant services, because if anywhere someone drops out or like has to go on vacation, I can personally jump in. I'm not gonna have a web design agency because I know jack about that, and I can't help if something fixes it. If someone messes it up, I can't fix it. So I feel like that's important too.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because that's something that, like around this time last year, my husband was trying to encourage me to scale in a way of like broadening my offerings. And I was just like, even if I expand my company to hire someone who does those things, like let's say SEO is easier for me to understand, but still something that I don't completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't feel comfortable stepping into their role. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's a healthy place for me to expand. And there's more than enough for me to write, and like hire more copywriters that would be helpful for me.
Yep.
But I'm not looking to like be everything to everybody.
Right, because that can get you into trouble. Like I would never provide, I'm not going to say, "Hey, we can manage your Facebook ads." I don't know how to do that. Yeah, could I partner with an agency that does it? But what if they mess up? Like
Right.
I would rather come up with a strategic partnership with somebody that I know and trust. Like, "Hey, I'm going to refer you to Whitney." That's what me and you do that all the time, back and forth. Like, "Hey, I don't do PR. I don't really do social media strategy, but you should talk to Whitney. This is, my trusted partnership." And I mean,
Yeah,
and that's also putting out good karma, right? Like into the universe.
totally. What do you want people to know about She's a Given right now? Like how you're growing or what you're proud of or anything that you've just been thinking about with regard to your company, baby?
I'm just really, really thankful that I've been able to, one, impact so many businesses and help create some semblance of balance, especially in the throes of 2020. Like, I started my company July 2019, and then, COVID hit, and everyone everywhere is like trying to be a career person and like still spend time with their family and like not lose their shit. I'm still trying to do that. It's a struggle. But like these busy executives are trying to like, work from home with their 2-year-old at home, and like they can't be on Zoom meetings all day every day, and they can't do everything administratively, and it's just hard. And I'm really excited that I was able to create balance for so many people in that time. And then not even just businesses, but for my assistants too. So like we have helped, we have hired people who got laid off due to COVID or like didn't want to work. They were work at an in-person job, so they quit their jobs and needed something more flexible, and I was able to provide that with them for them. And that feels just really, really full circle. Like I'm helping these women who want to spend time with their families, who are then helping businesses who want to spend time with their families. And like the balance is so prevalent and prominent that feels so good to me. What else do I want to share about it? Like I'm really passionate about, I really want to develop something that's like helping others, helping these executives learn how to delegate better, learning how to work with an assistant that's impactful, and making things really seamless and easy. Maybe addressing some of the things that like, no, they're not going to be in person filling up your coffee, but they're going to be like a strategic partner to you anyway, like helping you anticipate things that are coming up, getting your calendar in order, things like that. I'm really passionate about working with my husband, and that's been so cool in 2021. Like learning how to partner together, going from this place of, okay, I'm running this business, I'm doing all these things by myself, to like, I had this big win at work, right? And he'd be like, well, that's awesome. But now he's the one selling, and he's essentially the one closing the deals. And like, so we can celebrate together rather than him like being, I mean, it was always our money, right? But it feels different now. And it's been a positive shift in our relationship for sure, which has been really great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You need an assistant, I guess. I know you always talk about the Kate Northrup book, Do Less. I just bought an audiobook.
I'm listening to I'm almost done with her money book, and I actually hate listening to her read it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I generally hate audiobooks in general.
But that's a great book for everybody who could be a potential client to read, so that they will come to you. So you should send it to everybody to gift to somebody else.
And I just want to drop a little tidbit here. You don't need to be financially ready to hire an assistant. Like, it's so hard to grasp the concept of, oh, I'm going to pay somebody money and I'm not even bringing in that much money. But Here's what I always tell everybody. Take your hourly and times it by the number of hours a week that you are doing administrative tasks. Let's just say it's $100 at 10 hours a week, right? So that's like $1,000. Yeah, $1,000 a week.
Yep.
$4,000 a month. So how much is it going to be to hire an assistant for 10 hours a week? Significantly less. And then you'd have all those 10 hours to actually make that $1,000 back. So you're essentially losing money. But I told this to Carly yesterday. You're essentially losing money by not hiring an assistant. Like, actually, you're losing money. Because you're wasting your time.
And it creates the space.
So that's something I try to help people understand. Yeah, it costs money to hire an assistant, but it costs more money for you to do it yourself.
And just you, like I've been talking lately about being like happy tired versus just like worn out tired, and they are very different. Like you're going to be happy tired if you're creating in the way that like lights you up and makes you happy, but if you're doing everything and you're not great at it and not feeling fulfilled at the end of the day, like I ended up buying a system to help me with my admin, like billing stuff. And then I hired one of your assistants to do all these other things that I couldn't just have a $20 a month system for, that I just was tired of doing, like research for outreach for some of my clients, or drafting tweets for another client that I do, or compiling numbers, and just the weight off my shoulders. Like I told her, I have these monthly calls with one of my clients, and I'm always scrambling at the last minute because I haven't had the time or allocated the time to keep up with their social media numbers. And because I could open up that grid, I had that panic feeling. And then I was like, oh, I have Alyssa helping me. Then I was like, it took me 2 seconds to send those numbers over to my clients, where usually it would take me over an hour. And I would be sacrificing time that I needed to recharge. And that to me, like kind of unclenching and realizing that it allows me time to really like spend more time being in my deep work. It's been pretty invaluable, but like you said, it took me a while to like get there and understand the spend and make that list like Marissa recommended when she hired her assistant, of like, here's all the things I hate doing. I'd never even thought about it that way.
It's so true.
Let's do some rapid fires.
Okay.
I'll try to be rapid. What's your coffee order?
I have multi-coffee orders. One is a iced caramel soy latte, sugar-free caramel. Another one is an iced sugar-free white chocolate Americano. And then iced matcha with almond milk.
You're an iced person.
I'm an iced coffee person, yes.
Even in the winter?
Sometimes I like, yeah, mostly actually. But then also, I always also have a cup of hot coffee in the morning. Just like drip with like, right now, pumpkin spice almond creamer because I'm basic. I don't care. I love it. Pumpkin spice, I love it.
I'm that person that like, if I'm going to a new place, I have my like things that I will get to try there. But now each place like around where we live, I have my like go-to drink there because they have different specialties.
I also really like chai. I love chai so much.
The chai at Red Twig is the best chai I've ever had.
Okay, I'm gonna get it. I love chai.
Because sometimes it can be a little too spicy, or it can be too sweet, and this is just perfect. What's your first happy memory?
I was thinking about this earlier when we were recording. It's hard. My early childhood was really tough. But really the first thing that is coming to mind is, it's funny, earlier she said Christmas, but it's a Christmas memory of me and my sister like walking down the stairs. And I was probably 7, walking down the stairs and into the living room, and there's 2 bikes with bows on them, and I had never had a bike before. So that was pretty cool with my adopted family. That was our first Christmas with them.
Oh, that's so sweet. What clothing item would you wear every day if you could?
See, this is hard. This is like, I come at this from 2 levels. like, am I coming at it from my highest self, or am I coming at it from like my everyday what's comfortable? Because if it's everyday what's comfortable, it's like joggers, right? Like me and EJ are wearing the same ones today from Little Bipsy. Hey, Little Bipsy, we need to get them on the podcast for sure. Brittany, for sure.
My highest self wears joggers. They're just more expensive. Well, they're all expensive.
My highest self wears like blazers.
Mine doesn't. She's always comfortable.
No, my high self is like blazer or like a really cute fitted jumpsuit that's like maybe strapless, even though I don't look good in strapless. But when I picture myself on stage, I'm always wearing like like a magenta, like my logo color, like strapless jumpsuit.
Okay.
But I don't know why, because I've never worn that in my life.
Maybe that's when you're going to be like accepting an Emmy or giving a TED Talk or something. What's the best business purchase you've made in the last 6 months under $100?
Oh my god, there's so many. Like, I spend so much money. But like, I always like the best one. I mean, I think Squadcast is pretty a solid business investment. It's really helped both of our businesses, I think. And yeah, Squadcast and Buzzsprout. No, our podcast stuff. I would say like the things that we invest in to get our podcast done every month. That's been great.
Last one, what's lighting you up lately?
I have been very called to like purge my surroundings lately. And that is lighting me up. So like going room by room and like getting rid of stuff, like shedding the old. That is making me feel really good and lighting me up lately. And it's like weird because I go through these spurts. So that's felt really good lately.
Yeah, and it's so satisfying to like give it away on Buy Nothing or sell it. I love that. My husband's been doing that too. Like he's been doing bigger items. But I have been selling some small things lately or just giving them away on Buy Nothing and feeling really like, oh, this is helping somebody.
So have you ever seen pictures of EJ's castle bed?
No.
Okay, I'll text you one. But like he had this like giant castle and like one of those loft beds, and the above was his bed, like a twin size bed. He's like, Mommy, I don't like this bed anymore. I want a big boy bed. And so we had to like disassemble it. It's giant. It's huge. I'll send you a photo. But my husband, Billy, was up there unscrewing the platform because he had screwed the platform down so it was secure. He was unscrewing it and fell through it.
Oh.
Like onto the floor. It's really bad. His knee is like so messed up. But where was I going with that? Oh, purging, because we're like getting rid of it, but now it's like in the living room. And I'm like, can we get rid of this? But nobody wants it. I need to put it on Buy Nothing again. Like, oh.
That sucks. We just sold a bunch of vanities and it's like they're so heavy. And it's just like these massive things that you just have to store until they can get out of your house.
Where are you going to store this stuff for real? And so I just generally take everything to like Goodwill, but I have mixed feelings about that because I would rather go to somebody in our community and yada yada, but yeah.
Well, and you don't know where it goes. I think there was like a documentary that came out or like a New York Times thing of like, where does the Goodwill stuff go when you give it to Goodwill? And unclear. Last question, where do people find you? Where do you want them to find you? Because I'm always saying Emilie Given and She's a Given. I don't know where you want people to find you.
So I am a type of person that it tries, and I don't know how I feel about it as of late because you do it so well. I try to keep business and personal separate. And I've heard you say multiple times that like you cannot because it's who you are. And that's how I'm feeling lately. So I don't know. I've always felt, and I guess it started in MLM roots, right? Like I see people on Facebook talking about their products and I'm like, shut up. I don't want to hear from you. And so I got annoyed by that. And so I vowed to never be that person. But I feel like if you don't share in a way that's like offensive, then it's a good blend. Wow, I'm really rambly today. you can find me at she's a given underscore on Instagram, and then facebook.com/she's a given. And you can also follow my personal Emilie Given if you want to see mostly cute photos of my children. They're really cute, like so cute.
And to be fair, I think that I don't really care what people think, but for me and my business, I think it makes sense for you to keep it separate, but like the way that my business is, the type of clients that I'm looking to attract would be attracted to the fact that I'm a mom and I have these certain specific beliefs, or we can chat about like, how busy I am in the fall because of my shows. And they would not like judge me for like, not that I've ever missed a deadline, but like, oh, this blog post is a day late because Whitney had to like sit up and watch The Voice. Not that they would. Anyway, I would manage my time with The Voice. It's just on in the background. Ariana Grande's there. I need to catch up. I haven't even been watching, but like Bachelor in Paradise, it's just things that are very important to me. And I want, like, I think both of us are kind of in a position, probably me more than you, where like my clients it's smaller and closer. My tight-knit group of clients where like I need to have kind of a personal relationship with them too. So for me to create and run like a separate Instagram, oh my God, I can't like even tell you how that makes me just want to like throw up and be angry.
I never have done my own Instagram.
For She's
I
a
do
Given.
my personal one, but I don't do She's a Given. And then my one, Vanessa, had to like get a real job. Dang it. So not saying that virtual assistant is a real job, but she got her first corporate job out of college. She's super excited, and she was doing my social, and I'm like, I haven't posted since it's been a month.
Yeah. So you kind of have to decide like what makes the most sense for you. And I feel like for you, it does make more sense, especially if somebody else is running it, for you to have them separate. For me, it just doesn't.
Right. And then when I transition into my highest self, like speaker, author, then I can incorporate that into Emilie Given. But
I mean, Glennon, she has everything together. She doesn't have separate.
Yeah, and so does Gabby Bernstein. Like, I'm gonna be my own brand one day.
Yeah, that's exactly why I did it.
So the brand next door does not have its own IG, right?
No, and that's just my personal blog that I started when I was really bored at my corporate jobs, and I need a creative outlet that I've kept around because it's just where I dump my kind of random creative ideas, try different things.
I've looked at your blog multiple times.
Yeah, I try to make it helpful.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast today, Whitney.
Yeah, thanks for being here, and I hope that everybody can get to know Emilie a little bit better and reach out to her if you need a personal executive assistant virtually. It's been a huge gift in my life, as has Emilie, so thank you for existing.
Thank you for existing. I'm going to look up the post in eMoms where you first commented.
Well, thank you for listening to The Coast. Come back next week where we'll have another beautiful, wide-ranging conversation.
Bye.
This episode's music was provided by Sloan Best.
And editing provided by Kayla Shute.